Welcome back. This is the next chapter. A show about books and all things related to books, including author talks, how to write books, how to get your books published, etc. I'm your host, Amazon best-selling author, Fred Hughes. So, like we normally do, beginning of the show, we'll talk about new stuff in the world of books. And this week, Imaginarium announced the nominations for awards for books, poetry, etc., in various categories. Imaginarium is I don't want to call it a convention. It's more of a symposium that happens in Louisville toward the end of July. A variety of authors from different fields, different genres, get together and talk about things writing. You heard me in the past talk about the Superstars Writers Seminar that I attended this last February. It's sort of the same thing, much smaller and regional scale. But something that's unique to this convention is they award what they call the Imagine Awards, and I think this year is the third year they've done it. So people can submit their favorite authors to be considered for an award. And this past week, they announced who this year's nominations were. And if you scroll down, scrolling down, they award in the categories of Best Anthology, Best Short Story Collection. Now, some of you may ask, and this is sort of semantics, what's the difference between an anthology and a short story collection? An anthology is a group of stories. They may be stories, novelettes, novellas, by different authors that have been grouped together. Typically, they're all written relating to a specific subject. A collection is a group of stories that one author has written. And that's the common thread between all the stories, or between everything that's in the collection. They're all written by the same author. They may be totally different subjects. You can have horror and fantasy, whatever, but they're all written by the same author. So that's the difference between a collection and an anthology. Best short story. One particular friend of mine, Melissa Alta, has a story that's been nominated, Duck Me. Best audiobook narration. Best children's book. Best young adult novels, all, but best faith-based novel, yes, faith-based books are a big thing in the United States. Best fantasy novel, obviously, fantasy is a big deal. Best game module and rule book. Best historical fiction. Best horror, best literary fiction, best mystery, best nonfiction, best paranormal romance, best poetry. Like I said, across the spectrum of writers attend Imaginarium. Best romance. Finally, and the reason why I'm bringing this up, best science fiction. Notice who's nominated. I am for the sixth book in my Prince of Britannia series, Prince Liberator, was nominated in the Best Science Fiction Novel. I actually faced stiff competition because Bill Webb, who appeared on the second show that we did, has a book nominated, Standing Among the Tombstones. Best Song Lyrics, Best Steampunk, only one person got nominated. I guess he'll win. Best Thriller, Best Urban Fantasy. Another friend of mine, John Osborne, who I hope to get on the show, Hunting the Hearts, nominated in that show. So that's it for the Imagine Awards. Yes, I'm self-publicizing myself because I have a book that's been nominated. We'll see if I can win. And obviously, I'll let people know. Like I said, that doesn't happen till late in July, so I won't know that till then. Hopefully, we'll have a few more shows done before then. Hopefully, Stephanie doesn't get tired of producing the show, and we'll have a bunch more made by then. So, last week, I did an entire show about, okay, I have a story. How can I get it published? And I'll be honest, when I originally thought about doing that and talking about it, it's like, geez, can I talk long enough to fill a whole show? Well, in reality, I didn't even come close to finishing talking about the subject. If you watched last week's show, and if you haven't, why haven't you? Take a look at it. We sort of left off with you got your book uploaded to Amazon and they were happy with the contents, and you got your cover uploaded into Amazon and they were happy with the contents. And then I showed you some of the screens associated with being a Amazon published author. But we're not done yet with getting your book or story published. All we did was get it uploaded into Amazon. We haven't told them to publish it yet, mainly because we haven't told them where you want to publish it, how you want to publish it, and what price do you want to charge for it. All those are important things, and I didn't want to shortchange anyone getting into discussing that when we couldn't finish it last week. So we got to a convenient stopping point, and that's where we left off. So going back to page, if I can find out, okay, there it is. So we have this page, Amazon, your Kindle Direct Publishing. And we talked about all this. Those that were with me last week saw that this is my page on Kindle Direct Publishing. One of the things I didn't point out is on this page for your book. In this case, this is my author. This is the book page for Cripple Squadron, one of the indie published novels that I currently have out. You notice that they have a section for Kindle ebook, and that's what we've been talking about. But there's also a section for paperback. There's also a section for creating a hardcover. Believe it or not, Amazon will publish on demand hardcover books. They actually look pretty good. I should bring one of mine in that I've had done so that you can see it. Actually nice, but it's not your traditional plain bound book with a dust cover on it. It's an imprinted cover. So there's all of that. So if we go into continue setup, we want to go to, this is where we left off, edit uploading your ebooks, and hopefully it doesn't take too long to load this screen. I have a bunch of screens open, and that's probably not helping right now. There we go. We were on this screen, and we went all the way through. We talked about acknowledging whether AIs or anything else. At the bottom, it asks about ISBNs, and at the top, it also talks about using ISNs. Those are what your codes are on your barcodes on your book are. And if you use Amazon's barcode, and someone scans that barcode, it'll come up that that's an Amazon book. That's not an issue unless you decide you're going to try to get someone else to sell your books over the counter. Okay? After we come back from the break, we're going to talk about what price do I try to sell my book for. This is Fred Hughes, and this is the next chapter. Welcome back. Thank you for letting us pay some bills. I'm Fred Hughes. This is the next chapter, and this is part 2 of my talking you through how to get your book published on Amazon. When we went into the break, I said we'd talk about pricing your book. So you've got your book uploaded, got a cover uploaded. How much should I charge for this book? The next page on your Kindle Direct asks you or lets you do that. And this can get complicated. The first thing that I want to do is to go down here where it talks about pricing, royalty, and distribution. And if you're going to sell your book exclusively, notice that there's a 70% and then a 35% right here. Now, clicking between, basically Amazon wants you, if you upload a book, and Amazon wants you to exclusively sell your book on Amazon. Amazon will reward you in a variety of ways for doing that. Number one, they will allow you more royalties. They will give you a 70% cut right here. They will give you a 70% cut on what they pay you. Yes, Amazon's providing a service and they're going to take 30% of all sales, but they're going to give you 70%. If you go down here and look, they say, okay, now I get to make a decision. What number do I put for US dollars? This is a tricky question because it comes down to, obviously as an author, you want to set your price as high as you can and that you think you can sell books, because obviously the higher the price, the more money you're putting in your pocket for every sale. You come over here and see that at a $4.99 price, this is what I'm selling the first book in this series at a 70% rate, I'm making $3.42 on every book sold. Okay. Like everything else in life, you're consumers, I'm a consumer. You go to the store, and how often do we pass on buying something that's nice to have because we think it's a little overpriced? Books aren't any different. If a person comes up and they see your book on Amazon and it's, call it 200 equivalent pages, which is a rather short book, to be honest. 300 for science fiction, fantasy, 300 is about the norm. Between 300 and 400 is considered an average or normal length book. If you're talking about trade publications, it's not unusual to see 500, 600, 700 page books. But the length of the book also has something to do with price. I've gotten pushback, or I've seen other authors receive pushback because they're putting out a 300-page book, which equates to somewhere between 75 and 85,000 words, which not a long book, and barely makes most definitions of what a novel is. And they price them at $7.99, $8.99. And I see negative comments in readers' reviews that book was great, but way overpriced for the number of pages. So you have to take that into account. The other thing is, that price right there may drive people to use their Kindle Unlimited to read the book. Now, we haven't talked about Kindle Unlimited. I'm sure a bunch of you out there pay the monthly fee for Kindle Unlimited, and you're allowed to download 10 books a month for free. And once they're downloaded, and you can keep 10 books on your Kindle and read them. From an author's standpoint, how Kindle Unlimited works for an author is that the author gets X number of pennies for every page you read. And believe it or not, your Kindle or your Kindle Fire or the app on your computer or your phone is tallying those pages. Now, it's actual pages, not screens, because if you're like me and old and you've increased the size of the fonts, then, it may look like there's 6,000 pages. No, that's just 6,000 screens. It's the 300 or so pages that's in the actual book that you're getting, I'm getting paid for. But your device keeps track of that. Now, I only get credit for it the first time you turn the page. So you can reread the book as often as necessary, and frankly, I do that a lot, but I only get paid the first time you read the page. But obviously, from a reader's point of view, I'm receiving much less in royalties from Kindle Unlimited than I am if that same person decided to actually spend the money on the book and buy the book. Whereas I think I showed you down here at this $4.99 mark, I'm putting $3.42 in my pocket. If someone thought that was too expensive and they say, oh, but I have Kindle Unlimited, I'll just download it for free onto my tablet. If they read every page on that book, I would probably only make about $1.80. So from Amazon's point of view, they're making more money on Kindle Unlimited. From an author's point of view, you're wondering, well, why would I let my book be in Kindle Unlimited? Well, a lot of the people who have Kindle Unlimited are not going to buy ebooks. I've had people tell me that. Well, I pay for Kindle Unlimited, and unless the book is in Kindle Unlimited, I'm not going to read it. So, coming up on the break again, we're going to talk more about pricing, more about Kindle Unlimited, touch just a little bit on what we call in the business going wide, and that's selling either with or without Amazon. After the break, I'll be back. I'm Fred Hughes, and this is The Next Chapter. Welcome back to The Next Chapter. I'm Fred Hughes, and we're talking about you're publishing your book on Amazon. How much should I ask people to pay? Well, and we're talking about Kindle, Kindle Unlimited versus not Kindle Unlimited, how the price that you set for your screen for your book, how that will affect how much you are going to receive. Do I scare people away, or do I run people away because this price of $4.99 is too high? Do I basically, well, I want the book, but I'm going to use my Kindle Unlimited to read it? So those are all questions you have to ask. Now, it comes a point, notice right here where it says, set a list price between $2.99 and $9.99. That's to get the 70% royalty rating. If you set a price below $2.99, you're only going to get 35%. That's because when you from Amazon's point of view, when your pricing starts getting that low, Amazon can't pay you as much royalty and still make what they consider an adequate product. They're going to get their money. You might have to settle for less for them to get their money. Anyway, but if you bring this down, and I just did this recently, I put one of my books on sale at $2.99. I saw a marked increase in the number of ebooks that were sold as opposed to the number of KU books that were pages read. So there was a bunch of people that decided they would rather, at $2.99 price, they would buy the book rather than using their KU numbers. Okay, there's a break-even point somewhere in there that you'd have to, each person has to figure out. KU numbers, remember I said for this book, Cripple Squadron, the first in the book in the series, priced at $4.99, that if everyone read a page, I might make $1.65, $1.70 on the book. But at $4.99, I'm making $3.42, so I'm losing almost $1.50. Now, by lower that price to $2.99, then I'm making right at $2. So if I convince people to buy the book, I'm making a hair more money if they buy the ebook at $2.99, people that would buy it instead of just using KU. All things to think about. The other thing to think about as you scroll down here, notice that whenever you put the first number in, I put $4.99 in for Amazon, it will automatically populate the price of the book everywhere else that the book might be sold. And this is the book might be sold in its English version. So in the UK, where I sell a fair amount of books, I would make £3.98. It would be, it would be sold for 3.98 pounds. Same with euros for Germany or France, Spain, Italy, whatever. Canada is 677 Canadian. So it'll automatically populate all of this. So one last piece of advice when you ultimately land on, I'm going to set my price at this. Let's say it's $4.99. Right now, for non-trade published novels, for the first novel in a series or the first novel in a series, or the first novel you've ever written. $4.99 is about the standard. $5.99 seems to be the going price point that most of the most known independent authors and most of the small publishing houses, that's the price point most of them are landing on, $5.99. Believe it or not, a year ago, that price point was $4.99, and it had consistently been $4.99 for several years, and it just went up to $5.99. I'm trying to push the envelope and move up again, but we'll see what my publisher has to say as far as my other books. So you set your price point. How are my books doing? So this is my actual dashboard, and I'm going to let you see it. You come up here, and this is the number of, what is this? Today is the 2nd of April. And these are my sales for the month of April right now. I've made $53.48 in a day and a half. Processed 4 orders, which means we sold 4 ebooks or maybe even a paperback, and 9,000 some odd pages have been read. If you go back here, I mean, if you scroll on down, you can see that, oh, this is a running sales for the last 30 days of my books. You notice that, you know, they're sort of starting to peter out a little bit. Frankly, the second book of this series, there's only 2 books and a short story that are included in these numbers right now. And the second book of this series came out last November, so it's 5 months old. And then you go down here, and it'll show you today, this is what I've sold so far. And this is today's sales. Notice there's a Battle of Chasers. That's the short story I was talking about that I have up for sale. Interestingly enough, and it's not on here, occasionally, one of my early indie books, Prince Awakens, Prince Commander, or Prince Warleader, the first 3 books in the Prince of Britannia series. When I initially wrote them, I launched them as an indie author. There are still people who have downloaded Kindle Unlimited versions of Prince Awakens on their tablets. And every so often, I actually see it show up here for page reads. That book hasn't been Kindle Unlimited in my name in 2 years, but there are people that still have it downloaded on their Kindle device. One of the other things I wanted to point out is right here, and this is an important information that feeds into pricing. Right now, 71% of my sales, that's, talking about subscriptions, which means Kindle Unlimited. 71% of my sales are from Kindle Unlimited page reads. 29% are from actual ebook sales. So you can see the big difference. But, and there's no way to quantify it. If I wasn't selling Kindle Unlimited, there's no way of knowing how many of these KU sales people would have said, well, I want to buy that book anyway. The other part is, if you notice over here, top marketplaces for April so far, this is just April. 71% in the United States, 29% in the United Kingdom. So it is possible to sell books overseas. But having said this, the reason why I brought that up was to go back and, I can't get there again, sorry, is to click on the button to decide whether or not you want to get Kindle Unlimited. You have to enroll in the program, and there's a price to be paid for enrolling in the program. Yes, you get paid for every page read. Another plus is that you don't share any of that money. It's not like an ebook where Amazon is going to take 30%. No, that page read is your page read. You don't get any. But that page read is comes out of the pot that Amazon sets aside from enrollment fees. You also have to be in the program for 3 months once you sign up. And you cannot sell your ebooks anywhere else but Amazon. So, after the break, we'll talk about what all that means. I'm Fred Hughes, and this is the next chapter. So we're back, and I was going to talk more about Kindle Unlimited and the pros and cons, and we talked about how you're likely to get paid by people who would probably not buy your ebook, so you can still make money on page turns. And that every bit of that money is yours. You're not, Amazon isn't taking a 70% cut of that. Downside is, first of all, you've got to agree, you sign up for a 90-day term when you sign up for KDP Select. And part of that is the Kindle Unlimited. While you're enrolled in KDP Select, you can't sell your books, at least, and this applies only to ebooks. You cannot sell your ebooks on any other location. So, you see here it says KDP is a free program, rules and requirements. But once you enroll in this program, notice that right now, I currently started on January the 22nd. That was the re-enrollment date, and it expires on the 20th. I have this turned on for automatic renewal. The other nice thing that's managing Kindle Direct Publishing, and you can go in here to manage that. It also allows you to run price promotions like special deals. You can also do some A+ content, which is something we'll talk entirely on another show. I've got a close friend who is an expert in this, who I'm going to bring on to explain A+ content. Now, A+ content, if you go on certain author pages and you're scrolling down looking at their book, and you see, oh, there's pictures and stories and graphics and everything else, that's A+ content. And frankly, I haven't gone there yet. You know, like I keep telling all of you, I'm relatively new. I've only been writing for 4 years now. I've only been published for 3, so I'm still pretty new at this. So, Kindle Unlimited for starting out and getting yourself read, because that's the most important thing, getting your book out in front of people. Some future show, it won't be next week because I'm going to go back to, I've talked by myself for 2 weeks now, and it's time for let somebody else talk. I will go back and show my adventure of being a newly minted indie author and how I grew a following, and I'd be the first to admit I stumbled into it. But it's all about growing your brand and getting people to know who you are and yeah, I want to buy that guy's book, or I want to know when that guy's next book comes out. And we're going to talk about that in future shows, growing your brand if you're a newly minted author. Because readers are finicky, and you can lose a reader as quick as you can pick one up. If you all of a sudden, if they don't like your character, if they don't like your politics, if you've said something on social media, they can turn on you in a heartbeat. You know, it's almost as bad as being a politician. So, having said that, that's all we're going to talk about for this week's show. A couple of things that I wanted to. Nope, I'm not going to talk about advertising. And I'm going, no, that I can't. We've got 3.5 minutes left in this show, and I won't even be able to introduce the subject in that. But we will have a show about advertising, because if you don't advertise, you're not going to sell your book. I'll be truthful. First year that I was published, I lost money. I spent more money on advertising than I made in revenue. But I grew my brand. If you look back at Amazon itself, for the first 3, 4, 5 years that Amazon existed as a company, Jeff Bezos lost money. He lost money hand over fist because he was spending more money getting his product out the door and advertising and convincing people to buy from Amazon. And now look at him. I mean, depending on what list you read, he's the second or the third or the fourth wealthiest person on the planet. And frankly, if he hadn't screwed around on his wife, he would probably be the wealthiest man on the planet. But that's neither here nor there. He's still got more money than he knows what to do with. Last but certainly not least, my shameless plug for my upcoming book, Prince Dominator, which comes out on the 12th of April, the 8th book in the Prince of Britannia series. There it is, Prince Dominator. It's the best one yet. This week, I just clicked over today. I was writing before I came in. I just clicked over 86,000 words in the last book of this series. Let me walk that back. In the last book of this story arc. When I started Prince of Britannia, it was supposed to be a 3-book set. Then it grew to 4, then it grew to 5. Prince Dominator will be book 8. I'm writing book 9. It will be the last book in the story arc. And I'll tell you right now, the title of book 9 is Prince Emperor. Yes? Our hero, Prince Henry, finally becomes emperor and accepts it and decides it's time to rule the empire. And it's time to let other people fight. So that will be the last book in the story arc. Don't have graphics for it yet. Haven't Chris Kennedy and I haven't put them together yet. I can already tell you the name of the follow-up series. Like I said, Britannia isn't going away. Hazard's just fading into the background. Next series will be Scions of Britannia. So, talk about that more in the future. Thanks for watching this week. I'm Fred Hughes, and this is The Next Chapter.